You're live.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Devlin, Legislative Counsel. This is the meeting of the County and Regional Government Study Committee, and I think it's appropriate now that there's not only a quorum, but unanimous attendance to call this meeting to order. And let's see, pulling up the agenda here. First meeting item is introductions. So I will perhaps defer to the prior chair to start, Senator Collmore.
Actually, I'm not the prior chair of this committee, but I think this is my first time on the committee. But anyway, yeah, Senator Collmore, I represent the Rutland District, 27 towns here, and this was my 12th year in the legislature, just concluded.
So I'll go next. Wendy Harrison, I was on the previous committee. I represent the Windham District in the Senate, and the last year was my 4th year here. And I'll hit it to Senator Norris.
Yes, good morning. Senator Bob Norris, Franklin County. I cover 12 to 15 townships in Franklin County to include Alberg and Grand Isle County. I sit on Judiciary and Appropriations, and I was on the committee 2 years ago before it somewhat disbanded.
So let's go to the reps. Mark Higley.
Sure, Representative Mark Higley. I now serve in a 2-seat district. It's the Orleans-Lamoille district. It's 8 towns up this way. I just finished my 18th year. 12 of those years was on GovOps, and I was on this committee previously.
So Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Karras Duncan. I represent the towns of Wilmington, Whitingham, and Halifax. I sit on the Commerce and Economic Development Committee, and I just completed my first term, and I'm new on this committee.
And then Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate Lally. I represent Shelburne, Chittenden 6. I have a single district, and I have served 2 terms on House Transportation. And I'm also new to this work and very excited about it. Glad to be here.
Okay, and so moving on from introductions, we now have election of chair and vice chair. And so I believe we can take nominations or self-nominate. Yes, Senator.
I would nominate Senator Harrison for chair.
I'll second.
Okay, any other nominations?
Move they be closed.
And just for formalities, we can go to a vote. And all in favor of Senator Harrison's nomination to become chair? Say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that will carry. And we now have Senator Harris as the chair, and Harrison. And then we'll now move to vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? Senator Norris.
I think it's only right that we have a member from the House, so I would nominate in a different party, Senator Representative Mark Haley for vice chair.
Second.
Okay, and do we have any other nominations for that?
Move they be closed.
Okay, so moving on to a vote for that, all in support of Representative Higley's nomination to be vice chair, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that carries. And Representative Higley is the vice chair. At this point, because they do have a chair and a vice chair, I will turn it over to the chair, Senator Harrison.
Great. Thank you, Tim. And our next agenda item is reviewing the enabling legislation. So let's start there.
Okay. For the record, again, my name is Tim Devlin, Legislative Counsel. I've supported legal counsel services to this committee over its kind of various iterations of the last few years. And one moment while I share my screen, and in particular, the enabling authority. Let's see. And this was shared with committee members this morning and has since been posted on the website. Thank you very much, Megan. So let me know if anybody has difficulty seeing this, I can enlarge or whatever the committee needs. So we have 2024 Act 118 as modified by 2026 Act 96. The modified text will appear in blue just for ease of reference here. So we'll start with the legislative intent, as I feel provides some context for the powers that we'll get into a little bit later on down the bill. So in section 1, legislative intent, and then also the creation of the committee. 1, legislative intent. It is the intent of the General Assembly that existing direct coordination and communication between state and Vermont municipalities should be retained or strengthened. County or regional governance should enhance the work of local and state governments and not become a procedural barrier between the state and municipalities. Then we go on to the creation of the committee. We have a purpose section almost embedded in the creation statements, which is committee is to address local government capacity challenges, enhance and optimize public safety, regional collaboration and planning, efficient, equitable, and transparent public resource allocation, and effective regional public services for individuals and municipalities. I'll touch briefly on membership. We have everybody here, and so it's pretty self-evident at this point. And most recent was the shift from co-chairs to a single chair. And before, just for history's sake, the co-chairs were ex officio chairs of the GovOps committees. But now we have been elected. So moving down to the second page here under powers and duties, subsection C, the committee shall study and make recommendations to the General Assembly on how to improve the structure and organization of county and regional government, including A, coordination and optimization of regional government provided by state, regional, and local agencies, including for public safety, emergency management, and public health purposes. B, enhancement of regional collaboration and planning and implementation. C, coordination, increased transparency, potential efficiencies and service implements of non-governmental agencies providing regional public services, including but not limited to designated mental health agencies and public transit providers. D, efficient, equitable, and transparent allocation of public resources. E, promotion of efficient regional public services for individuals and municipalities. F, review the role and authority of elected county officials in the departments. G, reduction of duplicated or conflicting public services and promotion of opportunities for intermunicipal collaboration. H, balance of availability and cost of services across municipalities in each county. I, review of mechanisms of county and regional government structures in other states. J, impact of climate change and resiliency on the maintenance of public infrastructure, delivery of regional government services, and coordination of regional emergency planning. And K, the role of Department of Public Safety and Vermont Emergency Management in responding to all hazardous events. And then we move on to item 2. The committee may, through the Joint Fiscal Office, contract with one or more consultants to assist with research, preparation of the report, and any other assistance in the committee's work deemed necessary by the committee. Just pause here to note that I'm not aware that any such contract for consulting has been executed to this date. D, looking to assistance, our office, that is the Office of Legislative Operations and Counsel, 1, and the JFO or Joint Fiscal Office can provide services as necessary to the committee. And then moving on quickly to the report on or before November 1st, 2027. So November of next year, the committee shall report to the House Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs and the Senate Committee on Government Operations with its findings and any recommendations for legislative actions. Move on to meetings. Just a quick note, this is a reference to the past chair structure. On F4, we will see that the committee shall cease to exist on November 2nd, 2027. So the committee will be reporting on or before November 1st, and then the day after it will cease to exist, sunset, November 2nd, 2027. Then we have some We've wrote compensation reimbursement provisions there for up to, let's see, not more than 10 meetings. Me, in its prior membership, met 3 formal times, a 4th time to adopt its report that it's submitted to the legislature. And so this would be, I believe it's the 5th meeting. And then we move on to section 2 of the bill, which details the county and regional governance technical advice. And really this sets up an advisory group that has open membership, but is headed by the Vermont Bond Bank. And these will essentially provide on-call services and advice to be provided to the committee whenever they ask, and they're also enabled to meet independently. And here we can see under B, the list of entities that are invited to join those. But again, it's, we can see in 10, other relevant stakeholders identified by the technical advisory group can join as well. Yes, and they can meet at any time and can request, let's see, this committee, sorry, the study committee, that is this committee, can meet anytime to request that a technical advisory group provide information and how they see fit. I'm not too familiar with how many meetings the technical advisory group has had to date. They were more active, let's see, I believe maybe 2 summers ago. And I believe they are somewhat dormant as this committee took a hiatus, not just now. And then I should also note that this bill in section 3 required that the Secretary of Administration provide a report having to do with federal disaster funding for county and regional governments. This is submitted and is to be found on the committee webpage, Jim. So I'll pause there for questions about either the powers or enabling authority for this committee, and also questions for the technical advisor.
Tim, I want to just let the committee know that I did speak with Michael Gahn, and he is happy to continue to be the point person on the technical advisory committee.
Okay, great.
Great.
I do have one question, Senator. In looking at on page 1 where it says county or regional government should enhance and not become a procedural barrier between the state and municipalities, does that refer to, Tim, that anything that this committee does or does not do should not become a barrier? Or are there barriers that we're presently facing? I'm a little confused as to what the problems may be presently, what we're trying to solve here to this county and regional government.
Sure. The language there in, this would be A2 under creation of committee, is described as kind of generally aspirational. It doesn't bind the committee in exactly what it necessarily has to do. It provides a lens and perspective through which the committee can conduct its work. So I suppose meaning here could be read to be that any additional form of county governance would be for the betterment instead of impeding of either existing state or local forms of government that they would be collaborating with, of course, or the individuals and municipalities that live within those counties.
So then maybe we'll have a better understanding once the chair and co-chair start listing witnesses to give us an understanding as to what problems they may be encountering, if any.
Yes, I think that'd be appropriate for the chair to lend their voice and opinion as to exactly how they want to take that bit and apply it to the committee's work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can speak to that too. Generally what I've seen and experienced is that the state is accessible to municipalities, and there are direct questions that can be asked and answered. And when I've spoken with folks about this committee, there have been concerns that direct access might be impeded. And so this language is to just inform our work so that we're aware of not taking away helpful connections that exist. Does that help?
Somewhat, yes, thank you.
Okay. And then Tim, are you going to go over the, I didn't know if you plan to go over the introductory notes on county governance or not?
I certainly can pull up the document and kind of take a high level walkthrough if the committee would find that useful.
If that wasn't what you're planning to do, we could do that at a future meeting.
I mean, I'm happy to, if the committee thinks it'd be a valuable use of their time. We can also review the report that was submitted, or I can, again, just leave that to committee members to digest on their own time and or however the committee members really would like to play it.
Do members, especially new members, want to see that now or have it available in the future?
I think that would be helpful to see now if we have the time.
Okay, great.
All right, and Chair Harrison, would you like me to start with the prior report? Just kind of walk through that quickly because that does provide some background, some highlights, and I think some of the more relevant kind of presentations and memos that the committee previously looked at are attached as appendices to that.
Yes, please.
Okay. So can the committee see that well enough?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, and just for the committee's reference, this is posted on the committee's webpage. It'll probably, you might have to toggle over to one of the previous meetings for the page, or for the committee, but it should be there and publicly available already. If anybody has any problems accessing it, let us know. We'll just send it to you.
I can read most of it.
Oh, thank you. So here we have the, what I think can be maybe described as an interim report that the prior iteration of the committee submitted in November 2025. At that point, the latest legislation wasn't enacted yet to push back the report date, so the committee was obligated to provide something at that point. But it does, I think, serve as a helpful link between the committee's prior work and what perhaps where the committee will go forward. So we have committee members, prior committee members there. We just covered the committee background and charge, so I won't really kind of retread that ground. And you should just know that some of the charges have been updated since, and we're in the other document in blue that I described. So just a quick note that there's some development there. Let's see. Okay. So the committee's work to date, here you'll find hyperlinks to materials that were presented to the committees. You can also find them under witness materials on the committee webpage as well. But there was, again, 3 meetings that happened over the course of the summer and fall of 2024, and the committee took testimony from 10 witnesses. Those witnesses are included in one of the appendices here, and who presented on a wide range of materials from the legal underpinnings of county and regional governance. That was a memo that I put forward to construction in general, government entities in this state and others, and the relationship between government's structure in Vermont and the receipt of federal disaster funding relief. So quite the gamut. And let's see. Here we have a note that the task advisory group, as the technical advisory group, met independently twice during the summer and fall of 2024. But as to exactly what transpired to those meetings, I would recommend the committee have Michael Gahn speak as a witness at his next meeting. And he could probably fill you in the history there. So the committee transition hiatus can largely be explained by interruptions that happened because of the election. Some of the committee membership was not reelected, and then There was committee assignments that affected chairs because again, at this point there were two co-chairs that were the ex officio chairs of the GovOp committees. So at that point, because things had been, I guess, described them generally as being somewhat scrambled in membership, the committee recommendations were to essentially extend the life of this committee. So pushing back the date for the actual final report, as well as the sunset date for how long the committee should exist. And so these dates are not exactly what was put into the legislation at the end of the day. I'll just give a quick reminder that it's November 1st, 2027 is when the final report's due, and then this committee will sunset the day after, November 2nd, 2027. So we can skip through the enabling authority and just again note that that's was since updated. We have here a list of witnesses, which will kind of provide flavor for where the committee was before and who they were speaking to. So we have representatives from the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, Windham Regional Planning Commission, University of Vermont, Leahy Institute for Rural Partnership, myself, Office of Legislative Counsel, State of Vermont Disaster Recovery Office, State of Vermont Disaster Recovery Office again, Vermont Bond Bank there as chair of the Technical Advisory Group. Let's see, Capital Region Council of Governments from Connecticut, somebody from Metro in the state of Oregon, which is kind of a cross-county regional form of governance there. And then somebody from the National Association of Counties as well. So we had some in-state witnesses. A lot of that had to do with testimony being given on disaster recovery. And then we had witnesses from Connecticut, out west in Oregon. And then I actually think we had the last witnesses may have been provided by NCSL, National Conference of State Legislatures as well. It might have been somebody, the entity that referred this individual to this committee. I think I'd have to take a look at the testimony there. But point being is that some of those out-of-state entities were talking about various government structures that seem to be working in those other jurisdictions. Here we have hyperlinks to the presentations from those witnesses and dates when they're presented. Numerous people or various people provide numerous testimony, kind of coming back. I can see here Doug Farnham provided at least 4 different kind of exhibits. And again, these are also available on the webpage already, but I believe all these links should still work. So this is just another way of organizing information that may be useful for the committee to access. Just a quick note that, yes, I provided this committee with a memo regarding Intro to County Governance, as well as a memo regarding intermunicipal agreements and regional planning committees. One of those is attached here. We'll get into that in a little bit. So here we have the draft legislation that eventually a form of that was enacted, extending the life of this committee. And we have my legal memo having to do with the introductory notes on county governance in Vermont. And I'll just put a pin in this real quick and I can return to it in a bit if the committee wants. So that's just to provide some legal background of exactly what county governance has looked like here in Vermont in the past and what the legislature's powers are to amend county structure. And a little preview of that, the legislature has great power to do so. And also in that memo, we have an appendix within the appendix here, which is a list of Vermont regional government entities that I was able to identify. So not necessarily county level, but something that is beyond the regular scope of local government, that is municipal governments, but still sub-state level here. So we have things like a regional, I'll come back to that if necessary. So then we have a report provided by the Agency of Administration about the interface of state and federal governments when it comes to kind of FEMA support and emergency management support here. So They provided, let's see, three pages of text and then some illustrations here to provide context for what they reported. So that was the Section 3 of the Enabling Act, and they were required to provide this committee that, and they did in September 2024. Would the committee find it useful for me to go through that introductory to county government's memo at this point, or would the committee like to, again, digest that on their own time, read through some of the other resources? I defer to the chair and committee members on this.
Right. Are there folks who would like to go through that right now? I would like to just let the committee know what I'm thinking about our process before we get to more testimony. Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a huge, huge topic. We could actually spend years on this. It's very, very complicated. In the previous iteration of the committee, folks were very interested about Council of Governments, COGS. And what I think we should do at this point is investigate COGS more, additionally, but also be open to other possibilities, and so that we would have two areas of action. Last time we had in the summer is really summer and fall, 3 meetings, and I think we should have that schedule again. We met from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., which was a good amount of time. So that helped us have meetings in person because it was worth our time to come here or come there. And if we could have meetings, one in either late September or early October, and then one in November and one in December, that would give us time to talk to the technical advisory group and other interested folks in between the meetings and have the meetings be just more meaty. I said that I had spoken with Michael Gahn. I have not yet spoken with Doug Farnham. He's crucial to this to our work, especially the hazards responsibility that was added. So I'd like to have time to talk with him. And I'd like to meet with the technical advisory committee itself with the vice chair. We could probably have one more person because we wouldn't have a quorum then. So if you are interested in being in that at that meeting, let me know. So generally, that's what I think we should do is get more information about COGS and stay open to other alternatives at the same time. Does that sound reasonable? And what comments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could, Representative Higley here. As you all know, our regional planning commissions are putting together their final products that have to be, submitted by December 31st. I went to the latest NVDA meeting and also looked at, it seems that there was a LURB report that came back to NVDA, LURB being Land Use Review Board. There's a lot of information in there that the regional planning commissions are already doing. And I hope we don't duplicate efforts in the sense of what they're trying to do, what they've already done, what they might accomplish by December 31st. But, just to give you one example, one of the comments from the LURB that came back, they had a number of goals. The LURB did that they didn't feel NVDA had completely recognized yet. And one of them was shared services between communities, emergency planning was not adequately covered. So again, that's kind of one of the things that's in our charge as well. So I just want to make sure that, the work that NVDA and other commissions have done, and even, what towns and individuals that are going to these meetings our suggestion is considered. And like I said, hopefully we don't rewrite the book on a lot of what we're trying to do or what we think, county governance might do. Anyway, just a comment.
No, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. The regional commissions have been an integral part of this process. Just so that you know, they've been at all of our meetings, and yes, they're part of the process. Rep. Lally.
Yeah, thank you. I personally am interested in how we deliver government services across all tiers of government, and particularly interested in how I'm very concerned about. We have a changing climate. I think that's pretty obvious, flood hazard, et cetera. I'm quite familiar with the costs that this is imposed in through the lens of the transportation sector. So I'm very interested in how this process can look at, for lack of still struggling to come up with the right term, but from a public welfare standpoint, how does this affect the prices and quantities of the goods and services that, in my opinion, state and local government should be in the business of providing to voters, taxpayers, recipients of these services? I realize that's kind of a large and diverse bucket, but basically that's our charge. And I think Representative Higley's raising this sort of disconnect with the LURB process is a great example of how, maybe we haven't gotten that just right yet. So if my hope is that taking this really big picture look at processes and outcomes and goals that we're trying to achieve here, and maybe getting a little more clarity about what those might be from the standpoint of very basically protecting people from flood hazard, something I think everybody is 100% for in this state, might shape how we do things downstream from this really large tier of government. So that's against that backdrop, I'm hoping we can kind of pursue some of our work. Thanks.
Thank you. That's helpful. And we do have resiliency, I believe, in our charge, which is a way of looking at all sorts of changes that are happening. So there's financial resiliency and physical resiliency. So yes, and
social resiliency. It's
yeah,
it seems like a more winning way to talk about some of these large challenges and how we might, as a state, meet them.
Right, because practicality and reducing the cost of government is a goal also. So as far as information goes, this is going to be interesting. I believe that the last committee was on the verge of mapping, and probably I believe it was mapping entities. So I am going to work on that. If anyone wants to help with that, let me know. But it would also be helpful, and possibly too much information at some point, but mapping out, not in a physical map, but in a flow chart or something, what all these entities do, and who's connected to who, and that kind of thing. That would be really great to have, but it'll be hard to do. Senator?
Yes, thanks, Senator. One thing, and I think Representative Higley touched on it, one thing I do not want to do is create another layer of bureaucracy with the associated costs to it. If I'm predicting that the budget this year will be equally challenging as it was last year, there's not going to be a lot of money to do much of anything. That being said, I'm certainly willing to listen and learn about how we can increase efficiencies with already existing entities, but I just want to, at the outset, make it clear I'm not in favor of adding another layer, even though we're all going to get paid for sitting around and talking about this. So that's an additional cost that otherwise would not be incurred. So I'll just be as frank as I can and open as I can. I don't want to spend money that we don't have in order to create another layer.
Yes, thank you. And that first paragraph that we talked about where the direct connections between the towns and the state are that's part of that conversation. So yes, I understand what you're saying. Thank you. Rep. Karis Duncan. Can we do, would y'all be okay with first names?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay, great.
I mean, just to kind of pick up on what Brian was saying, Senator Callamore, I appreciate that point. I would also agree. I don't know that there's really a lot of interest in creating like just a sort of continued layer of bureaucracy. My vision and view for this work is to be additive and to help with coordination and to ensure that we're able to maximize our taxpayer dollars. And making sure that we're actually able to deliver out the services. I think like what Rep. Lally was saying, like we need to be able to, especially given all of the kind of federal pressures that we're under, we have to be able to coordinate our efforts and ensure that we're delivering for Vermont.
Thank you. Yeah, I think if we were able to make a flow chart or some sort of chart about who does what, I think that alone would show overlap and unnecessary regulations and possibly whole entities. Okay, so is everyone good with 3 meetings and the 10 to 3 schedule?
I guess if need be, we're right in the middle of an election season too. So I've got tons of events already on my calendar for the next couple months.
Okay, well, we'll work with everybody to make sure the dates work.
Mhm.
So, and that you have plenty of time, and I'll do my best to make the meetings meaningful, you know, and be something you can show your constituents that we're working on.
Madam Chair, if I could as
Yes.
well, I serve on LCAR as well, and we usually have our meetings on Thursdays from 10 to noon as well. So just want to keep that agenda visible as well.
Okay. Yeah, this will be an administrative thing, whether or not, why don't you send to Megan, please, the dates that you cannot meet?
Okay?
Does that work? Okay. All right. And then, so this is just for you to think about, but if we have something meaningful by the end of this summer, we can not necessarily promote legislation, but have conversations with the legislature on possibilities so that the legislature could have, you know, provide questions, provide suggestions, but do it not in a process that requires legislation because things get crazy at the end, as we all know, and I think it would be good to have legislative input before making a final decision. So basically, we'd have a draft, hopefully, and get input, and then next summer and fall, we could go out to the public more with something that has been somewhat vetted by the legislature. That's just an idea at this point, so we can talk about that at our next meeting, and I am happy to talk to anyone individually outside of the meeting. So I think that is all I have. Does anyone else want to bring something?
So Wendy, I got a quick question. So
Sure.
is Megan going to put out a doodle poll on availability or meetings, I assume?
Yes, but I think just because we are also busy, if you don't mind sending her your, like for example, if you can't meet on Thursdays, let her know that now. But yes, we'll do a doodle poll. Does that work for you, Megan?
Yeah, that's the easiest is for Tim and I to come up with date and probably you as the chair to come up with dates that work for us. And then we send them out to the rest of the committee as a
Okay.
whole.
And also like for example, I'm going to be out of on vacation in a couple of weeks. So if you have big chunks of time that you're not available, if you could let Megan know that now, again, the process would be streamlined.
I'm also working with Elcar right now, so I have those dates too.
Oh, good. Okay.
We can't choose Elcar dates.
Thank you, Megan.
For your work on Elcar, Mark. All right. That's anything else? So, thank you all for being here and thank you in advance for your work and it will be impactful.
Drive safely.
All right.